Good morning. It is day 4. It's another morning and it's currently 3:07 a.m. Hi everyone and welcome to another reading vlog. In this one in particular, I've decided to wake up at 3 a.m. for the next week to see how much that improves the amount I can read. I've seen lots of people do this challenge where they wake up at 5 a.m. but I'm naturally a morning person and sleeping for me is 6 o'clock. So waking up at 5 o'clock didn't feel like that much of a challenge, and I wanted this to be a challenge, which is why I decided to wake up at 3 a.m. So this was obviously very much a struggle this morning because it is nearly, let me grab it, it's nearly 3:30. I was like trying to remember what the time was. That's how tired I am. Oh, it's now 3:30. 3:30. So cute. So yeah, this is the challenge, waking up at 3 a.m. for the next week. So the first book I'm going to start off this reading vlog with is Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands by Heather Fawcett. This is the second book in the Emily Wilde series. I don't know what it's actually called, so it's just going to be called the Emily Wilde series because it's so early. So this will be my first read and I'll give you an update later on in the morning. So just a quick update, it's nearly 5 o'clock. So I wanted to give you guys an update because I've now been reading Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands for over an hour and I'm only, let me show you, 79 pages in. Oh, I can't be bothered showing you guys properly because I'm so tired, which is why you're just getting an update from bed. So this book has actually taken me a whole lot longer to get through than I was expecting. And I think that's just really due to the fact that I'm so tired. And because of Heather Fawcett's writing, it's very much like whimsical and academic. And it's just a bit difficult to wrap your head around at points for me. Which is why it's taken me a while to actually get through it. Because normally if I'd been reading for over an hour, I would be over 100 pages in any other book. But Heather Fawcett's books always take me ages. So yeah, I'm just going to go back to reading this book and I'll give you updates later. It is now currently 9:05 a.m. and I'm here to give you an update of how waking up at 3 a.m. on the first day went for me. So I feel like because I had a troubled sleep last night, it was very difficult for me to wake up at 3 a.m. And the reason for this is because I'm still sick. I keep going on about this cold, but I feel like it's just taken over my life. I was up at 12 and I feel like it took me half an hour to an hour to get back to sleep because I was just coughing non-stop. So when I woke up at 3 a.m, it was like right in the middle of a dream. And all I wanted to do was go back to sleep. But I didn't end up going back to sleep, as you all saw, because I started reading at 3:30. So I feel like I kind of failed for the first day, but also at the same time I didn't fail because I did manage to wake up at 3. I then managed to start reading at 3:30 and I consistently read until 6. Which wasn't as long as I wanted to, but then I started watching YouTube and I just got swept away by that. And this meant that I didn't read as much as Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands as I wanted to. But I feel like also a part of that was the fact that it's not gripping me. I was finding it very hard to get engrossed in this book, and I think it's because of the writing style. But due to that then interfered with me trying to read at 3 a.m. and onwards because I just wasn't invested in a story. And I feel like when you're waking up that early, you really want a book that is gripping you. But I feel like tomorrow's going to be much more successful because hopefully I won't wake up at 12 o'clock again. But I don't think that will happen. So I was also successful because I started reading Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands and I've got 140 pages in. 148 pages in. That is much more successful than if I had have woken up later, because I wouldn't have had that reading time, and I probably wouldn't have started this book until the afternoon, because I just feel like I wouldn't have wanted to pick this book up till later. But this challenge is really making me read the book, so I'm reading this book and I feel like I should tell you guys my thoughts on it so far. So I'm enjoying this. I like the characters, I like the storyline, but I feel like it's a bit dry and not much happens. And I'm not going to give you a synopsis of the second book because obviously it's a sequel and I don't want to spoil the first book for you all and then what this book is about. But in the first book, we're following a character called Emily, and she is a scholar and she is trying to write an encyclopedia on fairies. And then she ends up going to this village for research, and then another professor also ends up going with her, who is called Wendell, and it's just really following them two as they go on this journey together as Emily tries to write an encyclopedia on fairies. That is a crap explanation, but I feel like that's the whole plot of the book. It is very, very dull, as I've already said. It is very straightforward, not much happens, it doesn't feel very lively, it can be quite boring at points. I just feel like this book and series might not necessarily be for me, and it's the writing style. It is 110% the writing style for me. She's got a very flowery, academic sounding writing, and it's like, I'm a university student and I don't want to be reading the stories that remind me of university. And one thing that really bugs me when authors do this, and Heather has done this, it's when they do an asterisk and then you have to go to the bottom of the page and read the text to get the background to the story, and it's like, I don't want to do that. So this is really bad, but I'm just skipping it because I'm not interested in that part of it. So because of that, I could be missing out on different context, but it's just too much like a university paper. So I understand why the author is using this writing style. It's just really bothering me and I just don't care and I just can't handle it. So I'm struggling with that. But as I've said, the actual story is so good. I love the characters. I love the dynamic between Emily and Wendell. I love the two other companions they've got in this story. But it's not a new favourite. At the moment, it's feeling like a 2 because it's feeling very much like an average book. So I'm going to stop talking now about this book. It's now the end of day 1 of this reading vlog because it is 6:44 at night. And this is my bedtime basically, because I like to go to bed at 7:30 or 7 if I'm waking up at 3 o'clock. So I'm doing this update, then I'm going to write in my reading journal, and then I'm going to go to sleep for the night before waking up tomorrow at 3 a.m. again. So today was, as I said in my last update, was kind of a successful day, but not at the beginning. However, I have managed to finish Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands, which means I have now officially knocked off the second to last book on my July TBR, so I'm so close to finishing. But my July TBR was chosen for me by my TBR game, so I'll link it up above if you're interested in watching it. But the main premise of the game is I roll a dice and then I go along the board, and the card that was chosen for me that ended up with me picking this book was a location card, and that was Drum Island, and that was to read a book with a wintry setting. And the reason why I said this book had a wintry setting before I went into it is in the back it's got snow on the floor, so I was like, yep, this book fulfills that prompt. Because I went into this book thinking it is a wintry setting, it counts towards this prompt, because I can't know before going into a book if it's set in a wintry setting. But for that reason, I'm going to say this book satisfied that prompt. So overall, my rating was a 3 out of 5 stars. This book I struggled to get through. If I had have had as much reading time as I did today in any other book, I would have been like so much further in. I would have finished it way quicker. But because I was really struggling to get through this book, it took me hours upon hours upon hours, and it is tiny. It's just over 300 pages, so it really should not have taken me that long, but it did, which is so frustrating. But I still managed to finish one book in one day, which is so exciting. So I'm glad I've read this because this is the sequel to Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, as I've already said in the earlier update. So by reading this book, I am one step closer to wrapping up this series, and even though I struggled with this book, I'm definitely planning on reading the sequel, because originally I was thinking this book is feeling like a 2-star, but the ending of this book really got intense and things actually started happening, and the whole plot was coming to an end, and like everything was making sense and everything was resolving. But I really liked the way this book resolved. And I realised what I was trying to say earlier in my reading update of why I was struggling with this book so much due to the writing style, is because this is her diary. And in her diary, she's using footnotes, which is just like so strange to me because it's a diary, it's meant to be your thoughts, and I've never heard of anyone ever writing a diary and using footnotes. It's just, I've never heard of that. And then reading it, I was like, I don't care about the footnotes. And I was just very meh about this story. I'm not super invested in the characters. I wasn't super invested in the plot or the world building or just anything really about it. But there was nothing bad about it other than the writing style for me, because it just didn't work for me. But even that is not bad. So I just struggled through this book, unfortunately. That is why it got a 3 out of 5 stars. I think I'm going to stop talking because I feel like the amount of updates I've got for day 1 is actually crazy. Like, I think there is so many already. So I finished my first book of this reading vlog. So for tomorrow morning, I don't know what book I'm going to pick up next. I think I might read Rewind It Back by Liz Tomford. I'm not certain yet because part of me is also thinking about, let me grab it, Throne of Secrets by Kerry Maniscalco, because this is actually on my July TBR, and if I read this, I can wrap up my July TBR and then it will all be done. So part of me wants to read that, but then it's like Rewind It Back. If I read that, I'm finishing up a series. So I'm not certain yet, so we'll just have to wait and see what book I end up choosing. So I've just woken up and it is currently nearly 3:05 o'clock. So I'm up and it's time to start reading. I realised I should probably tell you the book I chose to read, and that is Rewind It Back by Liz Tomford. So I wanted to quickly give you an update because this is currently 4:30. So I've been reading for over an hour now. So I've managed to make it up to page 150 of Rewind It Back, and I think I've made some quite good progress. And I'm so happy with how much I've read, and I'm really enjoying it at the moment. It's a second chance romance, and this is the final book in the Windy City series, so I'll be wrapping up a series by reading this book, which is super exciting. I'm not going to give you any in-depth thoughts about this book at the moment, just because it's so early and like people are asleep, and I'm trying not to be too loud. So yeah, I'm going to go back to Rewind It Back. Okay, so it is now 5:42 in the morning and I'm still here, still awake, haven't gone back to sleep, and I've kept reading. Let's put this here. Yeah, and I've kept reading Rewind It Back, and I'm now up to page 260, which is incredible. This is exactly what I need, because when you're waking up this early, you want a book that will grip your attention, that you'll be invested in, and this book is a page turner. I am so invested. It is so good, and I'm just loving these characters. But the male lead, Rio, is definitely my favourite, and I feel like I'm being a bit loud, so I need to tone it down a bit. But I just know I'm having a fantastic time with this book, and I should actually probably stop talking about this and give you like my final thoughts when I finish it, or when I give you an update later on in the day, because it's still only 5:40 in the morning, so I'm trying to be quieter. So I'm going to go back to reading Rewind It Back maybe until 6:30. I don't know. I haven't decided what time I'm going to stop reading this morning, because this is my final day off of the week, so I've got lots of free time today. But from tomorrow onwards, that's all going to change because I have work at 7 o'clock every morning. So I'm going to have to stop reading at 6:30 later on, but that's not important because today, if I want, I can just sit down and binge read this book for the whole morning. But as I said, I might stop, so I'm going to go back to reading Rewind It Back. So it is now 7:20 in the morning and I have finished Rewind It Back by Liz Tomford. Oh my gosh, this feels like a 5-star read. It was incredible. I loved it so much. I'm going to give you my thoughts on it later on in the day, but it was brilliant. I love it. It holds my whole heart. It might be one of the best romances I've ever read. It was incredible. So now I'm just going to get ready for the rest of my day because in my last update I was like, I'm not sure if I was going to stop reading at 6:30 or keep going, but I just could not stop reading Rewind It Back. It was just, as I said, one of the best romances I've ever read. I loved it so much. So it definitely feels like this will be a 5-star, but I'm going to sit with that for a bit and then I'm going to come to a conclusion to see if this is a 5-star read.
So I realised I never gave you an update for day 2 of waking up at 3 a.m, so I'm now here to do that. So day 2 of waking up at 3 a.m. was actually extremely successful because I managed to read all of Rewind It Back in the morning by Liz Tomford. I love this book. It is a 5 out of 5 stars. It is one of the best romances I've ever read. I just adore this book. I love this cast of characters and it's just so surprising because when I went into this book, I did not want to pick it up. I was like, I'm not interested. I don't care. It's a second chance romance. And because of the fact it's a second chance romance, I was like, I just can't be bothered reading it because I normally don't like them. Because quite often I find the reasons why couples break up to be stupid and I just think it's a bit dumb and I don't really agree with it. And it's like, why do you two even want to get back together? However, in this situation, I completely understood their actions. I get why they did what they did. It makes so much sense and it was so heartbreaking when you find out what happens. It really just tore my heart to bits. Like the things that these characters go through, but especially Hallie, was just one of the saddest things. And I'm not sure I've actually given you guys an explanation of this book and I've just been going straight into my thoughts. But we're following 2 characters. One is called Rio and one is called Hallie. And Rio is a very famous hockey player and him and Hallie used to date when they were younger. So they are childhood sweethearts, but then something happened one day which caused them to be tore apart and they haven't spoken in 6 years. Until one day, Hallie ends up moving next door. And even before them two see each other again, Rio went next door and he saw his neighbour's house and is like, I need your decorator to decorate my house. And lo and behold, it ends up being Hallie. So then them two end up spending lots more time together as Hallie is decorating and styling his house for him. And that causes them to rekindle their relationship, rekindle their friendship, and just get back in one another's life. And the way these characters spoke to one another, dealt with their struggles, and were just there for each other, even when they were fighting and didn't get along. I loved it so much. It was so endearing. It was just such a perfect read. There is no notes I've got about this book. There's literally nothing I would do or critique to say that this book could be improved. Like, this is honestly a 6-star read for me. I love it so much. It is so much fun. Well, sorry, it's not actually so much fun because there is lots of struggles in it, but it was just a good time. And the fact that I managed to read it all in one morning is so not surprising, but I'm so happy about it because I feel like me binge reading this book really enhanced my reading experience. And another thing I adored about this book was the relationships that Rio had with the other side characters. Rio is a character we've been reading about in all of the previous books in this series, and seeing it from his perspective and the friends he has, I just love it so much. There is such a found family, and found families are some of my favourite things, and I think it's because I've got such a small circle in my real life that when I get to read about these cast of characters who have these big elaborate friend groups and they're always so supportive, it's like I get to live another life by reading through these characters. But it's just so sweet and I just loved it. I love the friendships that are in this book because they are just so well written. And the way that they all loved Rio so much, I just adored. And the way that then Hallie is introduced into this group and is taken in was so sweet. And I just loved their relationship, because as soon as Rio was like, I want to date Hallie again, he was so in it. He was so there for her. And he was like, he fell first. And I love the tropes when the guys fall first. It's just, this is one of the best ones I've ever read of that trope. And it was just, I keep saying in this, but it was just so brilliantly done. It is just a fantastic book. I love it so much. And I think I've spoken about this before, but I don't know if I've spoken about it in this video. But I've got a reading journal and I don't often write reviews, but I've written a total of, I think, 4 reviews this whole year, like a handwritten review. So this was my one for Bride, and then, but we're not there for Bride. So my one for, is this it? Yeah, so I've got my whole review there for Rewind It Back, and then I've got my big long review. I just loved this book. And, oh, I've just read something. Let me go through this, and I think I've just remembered something. So I've hit most of my points of what I've written in this review. Yeah, so one thing is, I think I've already mentioned this, but Hallie's backstory is so tragic. The way she suffered through life and was so resilient, I just adored. So I adored these 2 characters. I just wanted the best for them. I was rooting for them. I was so invested in their storyline. They felt like real people. This book is why I read romances. It makes me believe in love. It was just, you could feel the love of this pages, and it wasn't just romantic love, it was friendship, it was family. It was just such a heart-warming book, and it is just so good. That is all I can say about it. And we're so lucky because Liz Tom Ford is coming out with a new series, which is a spin-off to the Windy City series. I don't know anything about it. Well, yes, I do. Sorry, that's a lie. Because in the back of the book, let me find it, we're going to be following someone called Emmett, and someone else. Oh, I don't know, Reese. Oh, Emmett and Reese. I think they're the 2 main characters of the next book, and I'm so excited to read their story, because this book has made Liz Tom Ford become a new favourite author of mine. Because I found with the Windy City series, every single book just got better and better. And I'm so glad I persevered on, because the first book, Mile High, I actually ended up DNFing because I just found the male love interest to be infuriating, and the way he treated the female lead, I don't remember really liking it, and I don't think I really enjoyed the way he treated women. So I really struggled with Mile High, but then I continued on, and every single book has just got a higher rating. Because the 4th book in this series, I think it's called Play Along, I adored as well, but that only got a 4-star. So the fact that this now has a 5-star, I'm so happy, and I love it. I love it so much. It's one of the, I can talk about this book for so long, but it's one of the only books where when I've read it, as soon as I finished reading it, I was like, I need to pick this book up. This book I want to reread so bad, and I literally only read it a week ago. I want to pick it up so bad. And talking about it to you guys, again, has made me realise just how much I actually enjoyed this book. Like, it is a perfect book, because it's just a 5-star, 6-star read. One of my favourite books ever. I love it so much. And I'm actually so glad I managed to document my reading experience, and that I've read it in this reading vlog for you all. So I can have this video as a core memory of reading Rewind It Back, and if I ever want to relive this experience, I can watch this video. So I'm so happy I've read Rewind It Back. This is why I read. This is why I read, is to get this feeling. I'm so happy. Yeah, I just love it. So let's move on to day 3 now.
It's another morning, and it's currently 3:07 a.m. So I'm now about to start reading Throne of Secrets by Kerry Maniscalco. So it's 6:12, and I've just been here reading the whole morning, and I'm making my way through Throne of Secrets, obviously, because I've spoken about it before. And I'm currently up to page 232. So I'll give you my updates later on because I've just got work that I need to get ready for soon because I start at 7. But I'm not sure if I'm going to read another chapter before I go. But I'll update you all later. Bye. So it is currently 3:57 in the afternoon, and I wanted to give you my update for day 3 of this reading challenge of waking up at 3 a.m. So this morning when I woke up, I managed to read up to page, let me grab it, 255 of Throne of the Secrets before going to work. And since coming home, I haven't done any reading. I've just had a shower and then I've just relaxed since then. But I feel like I should give you guys some basic thoughts of this book so far. I'm not going to bother with a synopsis. I just can't be bothered at the moment. I might do it when I finish the book. Maybe, if I can be bothered. I don't know. So overall, I am enjoying this book so far. I'm not enjoying it anywhere near as much as Throne of the Fallen. And the main reason for that is I am not a massive fan of one of the main characters called Adriana. She is getting on my nerves to no end. She's driving me absolutely crazy because for half of this book we're following her perspective, and then in the other half we're following Prince Gluttony, who is one of the princes of hell. And Adriana hates him. She hates him so much, and that is all we hear about when we're in her perspective, because she is trying to report on a secret that Prince Gluttony is trying to hide. So every time these two characters interact, it is driving me loopy reading it from her perspective, because as I said, she hates him, and that is all we hear about with her. She's like, all she cares about is unraveling this secret. And it's like, she's trying to do it for the good of the people. Yeah, good, I understand that. But the amount she goes on about how much she hates Prince Gluttony is doing my head in, because they're meant to end up in a romantic relationship, and I'm not believing this romantic relationship that is magically going to form when we've literally spent, half of this book of her hating him. It's actually driving me crazy. I'm so over it. I don't see how they're going to fall in love. There's no real trust. It just feels like there's only sexual attraction between the two of them, and their interactions seem to be very surface level. So when I'm reading from her perspective, I'm just so bored, because the two things she goes on about, as I've said, is how much she hates Prince Gluttony, and then the secret that she's trying to unfold. And I don't really enjoy her perspective either, because she's a journalist and it's like cool, but it's a bit boring for me, and I'm not really that interested in her perspective. However, Prince Gluttony's perspective, on the other hand, is like worlds above it. That is the only reason I'm enjoying this book. The plot that is unfolding with him, with this secret and what's happening in his kingdom, is so interesting. I love it so much. I just find him such a fascinating character. But the only thing about his perspective I don't like either is I don't believe in the relationship between him and Adriana. Like, I just don't see it whatsoever. So I'm not a massive fan of the two of them. And this is a romantasy, so you should really care about the romance, but I just don't. I'm so bored when them two interact. But his Prince Gluttony's plotline is saving this book, because it is so interesting. If we just got a book from his perspective about this plot unfolding, I'd probably enjoy this book a whole lot more. But I just really, really don't like Adriana as a character. There's just something about her that rubs me the wrong way, and it's like, I'm not interested. I'm just not having a good time. So that's what I'm going to say about this now, because I'm going to talk to you guys again tomorrow when I finish this, because I'm going to have more thoughts. So I'm just going to try and keep this one quick, and just know the main point of this whole clip was me saying I hate that I really dislike Adriana's perspective. So my plans now for the rest of the night is maybe just to make dinner and then just sit down and read Throne of Secrets. I was thinking about editing videos, but I'm kind of not feeling it at the moment. So yeah, I think that might be my plan. And if I finish Throne of Secrets tonight, I'll let you all know, but I'm not going to give you an update until tomorrow. So I'll speak to you at 3 a.m. tomorrow. Good morning. It is day 4. It's another day where I've woken up in the middle of a dream, so I'm exhausted, but it is currently 4 in the morning. And I'm going to get up and get a move on so I can finish Throne of the Secrets. And that's it. Bye. It is currently 4:48. Oh, yeah, that's good enough. And I finished Throne of Secrets by Kerry Maniscalco. So I now don't know what I'm going to do for the rest of the morning because I really should read, but I'm kind of not in the mood to pick up a book. So I don't know. But I'll let you guys know what I end up deciding to do. It is day 4 of this reading challenge and it is currently 4:06 in the afternoon. And honestly, today was my worst ever reading day of waking up at 3 a.m. I think it has finally caught up to me, the getting up at 3 a.m. I feel like I was just so exhausted this morning. So I literally had no energy to read. The only thing I could really focus on was finishing off Throne of Secrets, and then I just watched Duty for the rest of the morning. So it was very much a waste of me waking up at 3 a.m. But I still managed to finish Throne of the Secrets. So now I want to tell you my final thoughts of Throne of the Secrets, and I should probably actually hold it up now. So this was so disappointing in some aspects and then not disappointing at all in others. So the main reason why this book, oh sorry, that chair is so creaky. So the main reason why this book was so disappointing was I just hated, with a burning passion, Adriana. I found her to be one of the most infuriating characters I've ever read about. I just wanted to get her, shake her and say, wake up. Like, literally, she drove me bonkers. Even just thinking about her makes me so annoyed. And I think the main reason for this is just how much she goes on about hating Prince Gluttony, how she doesn't trust him, how he's one of the worst people she's ever met because of something he did to her in the past. And it was just, when we found out what the reasoning was and what actually happened between the two of them and why she hated him so much and the resolution to it, I just found it so stupid. Like, it wasn't predictable, but it was just stupid. The reveal, I was like, it made me roll my eyes. I was like, this is the dumbest thing ever. And it just made me so annoyed. And because I really didn't like Adriana, and she just goes on every chapter about how bad Prince Gluttony is and how he always strings people along. So when I think about this book and I think about her character, I just get annoyed. And because her perspective made up half of this book, I just was so annoyed reading it. I found her so frustrating, so annoying. And that's all I can say about her, is she was just a pain to read about. And it's very disappointing because Prince Gluttony's storyline was so much better. It was so interesting. The things that was going wrong in his kingdom was fascinating. He was such a fun character to read about. But I just didn't believe in their chemistry between the two of them. So when they got together at the end of the book, I'm like, why are these two characters together? Like, honestly, where does it come from? How are they in love? Like, I just didn't understand it. I'm so confused, and it just, as I keep saying, makes no sense. Which is so disappointing because, as I've already mentioned in this reading vlog, I loved Throne of the Fallen. Throne of the Fallen is a top tier book, like, incredible. And I had heard reviews about this book that it's not as good. People don't like it as much, and I can understand why. Like, if people dislike it for the same reasons as me, I completely 100% get it. Because Adriana honestly ruined this book for me. If we had had another female perspective or another female character, I probably would have enjoyed this book a whole lot more. Because as I keep saying, Prince Gluttony's storyline was so interesting. And the thing that ruined it for me is that he liked Adriana. I said this in my last update, but if we had just been following Prince Gluttony and it was just about his kingdom, this book would have got a 5 stars. It was so interesting. I loved his storyline so much, and that's all I can say, really. I am super excited for the sequel of this book, though, Throne of Nightmares, which is coming out in February next year, because that storyline sounds so interesting, because I think in that one we're following Prince Sloth, and he is very interested in books, and then I think the female lead is like from another dimension or another world, and she's sucked into this society. And it just sounds fascinating. That was one of the worst explanations ever of the third book, but it just sounded so good. Whereas in this book, following Reporter and her trying to reveal the secrets, I'm like, this is so
boring. It's so boring. Like, it's so bad. And I think I need to stop talking about 300 Secrets because that's all I can say. Of course, there are good points about it. Like, there was a character called Val I really loved. And another thing I really liked about this book is we got to see the other Princes of Sin a lot. And I loved it so much. Seeing the interactions between all the Princes of Sin is so much fun because they get along, but society thinks they don't, so they kind of act like they don't like each other, but they do like each other. But there's also like, get away from my kingdom, what are you doing here kind of vibes, which I loved. So it was just that part of the book was just really fun, and it is a good book. And I know I was complaining a lot, but it actually was a good story, and if it was not good I wouldn't have been able to finish it. Kerry Maniscalco's writing style is just so bingeable. It doesn't take long to get through at all. This is definitely a book, if Adriana had been a better character, I could have read in a day. Like, it was so good, but I just hate Adriana as a character. So I need to stop talking about this book because I keep going back to Adriana. So yeah, day 4 was kind of a flop, but the good thing is, even though I didn't read today, I did come home from work and I've done my washing. I've got my uniform ready for tomorrow because, again, I'm at work, and then I have edited videos. I've uploaded one reading vlog. I want to upload a second reading vlog. I then want to upload this clip and edit it, so then I'll be up to date with my reading vlog. And yeah, I think that's all I've got to say. Right, let me go grab the book I should probably read next. So I've got 2 books I'm tossing up between. The first one is The Fate of the Sun King by Nisha J. Tully. This is the 3rd book in a series of the artifacts of Uranus, I don't know. And I read the first book, Trial of the Sun King, didn't really love it. It was okay, it was just an average read, but then I read the sequel and I was obsessed. So I really kind of want to read this book, and maybe I should pick this book up. But the other book I was really contemplating reading is The Things We Water by Marina Zapata. She is my favourite romance writer ever. She is a slow burn romance queen. This is only one of her book releases I haven't read yet because I binge read her books during COVID in 1 month. I love them so much. I just think she's a fantastic author. But I think it makes more sense for me to pick up Fate of the Sun King because this is, as I said, the 3rd book, and it is also a library book. So because of that, I'm on a time limit with it. So I think I've come to my conclusion. This is going to be the next book I read. Okay, so it's day 5 of this reading challenge, and it is currently 7:27 at night. I hope you can see that. But I've kind of failed miserably today. Like, so bad it's not even funny, because I woke up at 3 a.m. and I did no reading. And because of this, I think I'm going to extend the challenge. Originally, it was meant to be 5 days, and then I was going to be over and done with this reading vlog, but because I did no reading this morning and yesterday was kind of a flop, I'm going to wake up tomorrow at 3 a.m. again. And the reason why I failed so badly today was just because I've still am getting over a cold, and I've got this horrific cough that is never ending. So I was up so many times during the night just coughing my lungs up. I was so over it. And I'm over waking up every couple hours coughing. Like, I just am. Because last night I tried to go to bed at 7:30 or 8. And then woke up an hour later coughing. Then I woke up at 12 and it was just... Then I woke up at 3 and I was like, nah, screw this, I'm going back to bed. Which is so frustrating because I was so close to being finished with this reading challenge. Like, so very near. Which has meant I then went to work at 7. And I've just done no reading today. I just could not be bothered. I was exhausted after coming home from work. So now I'll be going to bed, and then hopefully I'll see you at 3 a.m. tomorrow. Okay, so it's 6:14 in the morning, and I actually managed to read, which is incredible. So I did end up picking up Fate of the Sun King by Nisha J. Tully, and I got up to, let me show you in a second. Oh, there it is. I got up to chapter 12, which is page 121. So I read for like 50 minutes, so I'm quite happy with my progress. I'm enjoying this book so much so far, to the point where all I want to do is be able to stay at home and not have to go to work, because I just want to read this book, but I have to get up and start getting prepared for work. But I'm so happy I actually managed to read some of Fate of the Sun King. So it's now 6:50 at night on day 6 of this reading challenge, and I wanted to let you guys know how it went. So this morning I woke up at 3 o'clock, but then I reset my alarm until 5 because I was like, I just need to sleep. It was a very ambitious and wishful thinking that I would be able to wake up at 3 a.m. every day this week, especially with work. Like, trying to wake up before an 8-hour shift at 3 o'clock is just ridiculous. So I was like, nope, I'm going back to bed till 5 o'clock. However, let me grab my book. I still did manage to read this morning because, as I said, I reset my alarm for 5 o'clock. So I got up and I had an hour of reading. And then I came home from work and I started reading my book again. So the book I'm talking about is Fate of the Sun King. And I've just lost my chapter, so I'm going to take a couple seconds to figure out where I got up to. So I got up to page 263, which is chapter 27. So I've managed to read quite a lot today, and considering I went to work, I'm quite happy with the progress I've made in Fate of the Sun King. And what I've read so far, I'm really, really enjoying, because I just love this series so much. It's so much fun, especially because of how much I enjoy reading about these characters. It's just one thing I have noticed though with this book is there is such a large cast of characters, and I feel like because it's been a while since I've read the second book, I'm forgetting who certain people are, so I kind of wish I had have read them closer together. And this is just another fantasy romance series where we're following a character called Law, and she is a prisoner until one day she manages to escape. However, as part of her escape, she needs to be a contestant in the Sun Trials, which is to become the next Sun Queen. So you're just following her journey on this attempt to become the Sun Queen. Is kind of like a fantasy version of The Bachelor, because she's competing against all other women from different parts of the realm for this position. And that's all I'm going to say about the first book, but this is such a good series. I love it so much, but I really did struggle with the first book, but then the second book I really enjoyed, and it's just really stuck with me. That second book I just continue to think about, so I've wanted to read this book since, and it's living up to it. I am enjoying it, but the main character, Law, she is a good character to follow, but she can be quite annoying. So I'm just kind of reading her parts. I'm enjoying them, but she's definitely not a new favourite character of mine. The side characters, though, are actually really good in this book, and I feel like I say this so often when I read books, and I don't know if that's because we're not in their head as much, and when we're stuck in the main protagonist's heads, they just get on my nerves a bit more, because I'm like constantly hearing what they're thinking about, and some of their thought patterns, I'm just like, this is so infuriating and I wish it was a bit different. Whereas with the side characters, you don't really get that, so maybe that's why I like side characters so much and so often. So this is a very fun book. I'm going to stop talking about my feelings now, because I really need to go to bed so I can wake up at 3 a.m, because I am promising myself I will wake up at 3 a.m. tomorrow, so I just need to do that. So I need to go to bed early. Yes, I'm gonna hopefully have a very successful last day of this reading challenge, because tomorrow is the last day, and I will tell you my final thoughts about this book then, or on Monday when I wrap this vlog up.
So it's the final day of this challenge, and it is officially 3:28 in the morning, and I am just so tired. I was so close to going back to sleep, like, it's not even funny, but part of me was like, it's the last day of your challenge, so just get up. But it did still take me like a good solid half an hour to actually like be ready to film and read. But I really am hoping I'm able to finish Fate of the Sun King this morning by Nisha J. Tully, because as I told you guys last time, I'm up to page like 263, and this book is 530 pages. So somehow I need to read 300 pages by the end of today. So we'll see if I can do it. So I wanted to give another update because it is 4:38 in the morning and I've still been reading. So I've made some good progress into Fate of the Sun King because I'm now up to chapter 39, which is page 403. Oh my god, I almost hit myself in the face with the book. So it's good. I've only got that much left to go, so hopefully I'll be able to get really close to the end by the time I have to get ready for work. So it's currently 5:45 in the morning, and I actually was successful this morning because I did manage to wake up at 3 a.m. and started reading at 3:20, and I haven't stopped since, but I managed to finish Fate of the Sun King. So I'm so glad for this last day that I've actually managed to get up and read, because the last 2 days were a bit of a fail. So overall, I think I'm going to rate this book a 3 out of 5 stars. No, sorry, a 4. Yeah, a 4 out of 5 stars. This was good, but it wasn't as good as the second book for me. And I don't know if it's because I left too long of a gap in between the second book and the third book, or if it's because the fact that the couple has finally got together in this book. This is very much a slow burn romance, and they're finally together in this book, and it just got a bit cringy once they got together, because one of the nicknames that they have for the female lead is Lightning Bug, and it's making me cringe every time I read it. It's like, oh, that is just a bit icky for me, that name. And it's so early, so I'm trying to be quiet, but I wanted to tell you guys my thoughts about this book. As I was saying, because these characters are finally together in this book, I feel like my investment in their relationship, I just stopped caring about as much. But I'm not mad that they're now together, because we were in the third book and the fourth book is the finale, so you kind of want the romantic couple to be together by then. But my favourite element of this book is definitely the world and the magic and the setting, because it's such a fascinating world and setting, and these are just so much fun to read. They're nothing new, they're very generic, they're very predictable, but if you're looking for a story which is just like nostalgic, I would definitely recommend this series, because it's very much like I just hit myself in the face. It's very much like every other romance out there. It definitely feels like other books I've read before, but it's not a bad thing, because there is enough about this series to make it unique. But it is, as I said, a story I've read before. And the thing that I also really enjoy is the characters. I'm always going on about characters when I review books, but characters need to be fun to read about, otherwise I won't enjoy a series. And this series definitely had some fun characters to read about. I feel like the main characters of Nadir and Law, because we're following them for most of this book, I just get a bit tired of their perspectives. And it's not like they're bad characters, it's just they're very much generic. Like, all I can say about this series is a very generic series, but as I've already said, that is not a bad thing, because it is just nostalgic to read. And the way this book ended, I'm so excited for the sequel. I wish I owned this series so then I could just dive straight into it, because it's like so pretty. Like, look at it. Well, no, this cover's not that pretty, but the story itself is just so much fun. I'm having a good time. I can't wait to find out what happens next, because this book ended on such a cliffhanger that I just need to see how this series wraps up. And I'm hoping that I will get the fourth book soon, because when I look at my library, it says it's being transferred between different libraries. So hopefully it'll be in my hand soon, so then I can just basically binge read the last book. So then hopefully I can get to this last book, because if I had the last book, I would probably pick it up straight away, so then I could wrap up this series. But I don't own them, so I'm waiting on my library. I definitely feel like, depending on how much I enjoyed the last book, I want this series in my collection. It's not one of the best romanticises I've ever read, but it is a romanticise that's got a special place in my heart, because I can see the faults with it, but even with the faults, I'm still like enjoying myself. It is just a good time. So I do want it in my collection, so I can stare at it on my shelves and have like a trophy of saying I've read these books and I love them,
Well, yeah, you know what? I will say I love these books. I do really, really enjoy them. Even though they're generic and they're predictable, they are just a good time. And I'm such a reader where my enjoyment is like number one with my rating. If I enjoy a book, but even if I see the faults, it will still get a high rating because reading is meant to be for fun, and I'm reading obviously for my enjoyment. So even if it's not the best written or the best like plot points, I will still really enjoy it. So I love this book series. It's just good. That's all I can say about it. It's just a good series. And okay, so I don't think I'm going to read any more books for this reading vlog just because it's the last day now, and I will only have tonight when I get home from work, which is after 3:30, and maybe like 20 minutes this morning. But I just don't feel like picking up another book for this reading vlog. But I don't know what my next one's going to be, but I am happy because let me grab them. Oh, I did manage to read 4 books in this reading vlog, because 2 of which were on my July TBR of Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands and then Throne of Secrets. Oh, I'm chucking them. But what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to swap my prompts. This is a new idea because originally I had a challenge card and that was to read a signed book, and the book that I chose for that was Throne of Secrets. And then I had a location card of Drum Island for Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands, and that is to read a book with a wintry setting. But let me make sure, yeah. But I feel like Throne of the Secrets better fits this book, which is why I'm going to say Throne of the Secrets filled that prompt. And then I feel like Emily Wilde, it's got a signature, so I'm just going to swap them. So I'm so glad I managed to finish my July TBR because this is the first time I've ever finished TBR. Then I read Rewind It Back, which was a 5-star read. I'm so glad about that. Like, I was not expecting that at all. That's the best book I've read in this reading vlog. And then obviously Heart of the Sun King. So I'm not going to go more into my thoughts about them books because I've spoken about them in this reading vlog, but I have managed, like when I look at this stack of books, I'm quite impressed with how much I've managed to read, because I think most of them, like these 3 books, are quite chunky. And this book was a struggle to get through, which was Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands. But this was my stack, and I am glad of how much progress I made. I do feel like waking up at 3 a.m. was successful because it gave me more time to read, but I don't necessarily know if it really made that much of a difference in my reading. But I did like the fact that the first thing I did most days was I woke up and I read, because normally I would wake up early and I'd just be on social media, so I felt like this was a better use of my time. I also kind of like the fact that it sets my day up so well because I wake up, I read, and I know I've read like a substantial amount before my day even begins, really. So I am so glad about that. And I definitely would do this challenge again, and hopefully I would be successful. I probably wouldn't do it on a week where I'm working 6 days in a row. Like, that probably wouldn't happen because today is my 5th day and then tomorrow I'm at work again. So I probably wouldn't attempt this challenge on a week where I'm so busy with work, because I finished uni for the semester so I can work more, which I'm not really used to. Like, this is the first week of being fully back at work, so trying to do this challenge when I'm super busy with work was not the smartest idea, which was hence why I failed on a couple mornings. But I am glad because I also, if I wanted to, I could have read later in the day, but I didn't feel pressured to because I had already read in the morning and I could do other things with my time later on in the day. But obviously there were still some nights where I read, like I probably would say a few of them. So I am happy with the progress I've made. I had a really good time with this. I think I'm just going to wrap this video up here now, and I'll just say I hope to see you next time, and bye.